Have you seen Hereditary? If not, you should. It's pretty good, and I'd like to talk about it. But more specifically, I'd like to talk about one part of it and how it's spooky. Now, if you know me, and why would you? I live by myself in a void, but you know that I like to be scared. But I am just awful at handling jump scares. Now, I could talk about the difference between a good and a bad jump scare and how they should be used as the start of something dreadful and not just being cattle prodded and all the horror just going toodaloo. But that doesn't make much of a difference to me because of my initial reaction would be pretty much the same of just, oh, you bastard! Sometimes I actually work myself up into a fervour just from the anticipation of being jump scared. Part of what makes them, well, sometimes a really good thing, despite what a lot of people might actually say about them. But, like, if I show you this picture, and some of you already might know where this picture's from and might be anticipating something to come. Well, me too, but don't worry, I won't be surprising you with anything in this video.
That's exactly what someone who was gonna jump scare me would say.
Well, yes, it is. However, I don't want to talk about jump scares at all. I instead want to talk about a very specific type of horror, one that I haven't felt in years, until this movie that is. Hereditary is a film about a family that just lost their grandmother, but I don't actually want to go into the details of the movie's plot, because it isn't relevant to what I want to talk about. Although, go watch the movie if you actually haven't, because I absolutely adore it. I want to talk about a very specific moment in the movie, and if you've already seen it, then I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. That scene.
By the way, some minor spoilers for Hereditary. Just go watch it already.
The setup is basically that the older brother Peter and his younger sister Charlie go to a party, and Charlie cuts herself a slice of cake, but the knife had earlier been used to slice nuts, triggering her very severe nut allergy. Being the responsible brother that he is, Peter gets his sister into the car and starts rushing her to hospital. Now, this is already a pretty hectic situation. It's clear how serious Charlie's allergy is, and Peter is just flying down the road towards the hospital. The stakes are high and tension is rising, but darlings, we are just getting started. At this point, if you still haven't watched the movie, then, well, first of all, shame on you. You should be doing as you're told. But secondly, I'd like for you to think back to the trailer. Now, if you can't remember it, just quickly YouTube it now. No, seriously, pause me and at least watch that. I'll wait, don't worry. Okay, now what do you think this movie is about? Possessed little girl, right? Charlie gets a paranormal diddling and turns her into the next Reagan McNeil. Yeah, fuck you. Charlie, struggling to breathe, opens the car window and sticks her head out in an attempt to get some more air. Peter then swerves to avoid an animal carcass, and Charlie is decapitated by a telephone pole. This is 30 minutes into the movie. So now, you have no idea what happens now, or what the film has planned. This film does not want you to know what's going on. It holds all the cards, and it makes that very clear. But this still isn't what I want to talk about. No, yeah, all this, yeah, that's still set up. Now, this is where things start to get horrifically delicious. After seeing this, the car grinds to a halt, and Peter sits there, silently shell-shocked, staring straight ahead. Daring not to peer into the rearview mirror, he swallows his fear, takes his foot off the brake, and drives home. He pulls up on the drive, goes into the house, and gets into bed. Then he waits. He waits until morning, not sleeping for a moment. When morning comes, he continues to wait, and we wait with him. We wait for what feels like an eternity, until we hear the sound that we knew was coming, but we just hoped we wouldn't have to hear. Charlie's mother and father are awake. Then, well, I simply can't do it justice. Just watch, and well, brace yourself, because this is pretty intense. Did I just ruin your day in 2 minutes? I love that scene. I think it's practically art. By the way, Toni Collette, who plays Annie Graham, the mother, is incredible in this movie. She really is. But right now, you're probably feeling a little bit off. Disturbed, upset, maybe horrified, or any of those things, and maybe more. Hopefully this isn't something you feel too often, but that feeling is one of my absolute favourite forms of horror. True despair shoved deep into your chest. This kind of horror leaves you feeling almost empty, and you have no real idea of how to handle it. With other kinds of horror, there are various coping mechanisms, like a spooky ghost. Well, that shit ain't real. But your daughter gets turned into a thick jam on the side of the road. Then what are you going to do? Sleep with the lights on? That scene I just showed you happened in broad daylight. This is a feeling that you're just going to quietly sit there and, well, that's about it. I can't think of the last time I saw this kind of horror. Maybe The Babadook, but that was never really to this level. After a while of trying to describe this feeling of despair, I struggled to even name it. So until I, or anyone that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about, can think of a better name, I'm simply going to call it Silent Hill.
Silent Hill is a feeling, and she's feeling it.
Now, I name it Silent Hill because nothing else not only evokes this feeling, but truly personifies it. Silent Hill, specifically Silent Hill 2, was one of my favourite games as a child, and, well, that explains a lot. But I never felt happy after playing it, at least not right after playing it. About 10 or 20 minutes later, I'd think back about how amazing it was, but right afterwards, I'd be quiet and confused. Because I didn't understand what I was feeling. I was a kid, I didn't know what actual guilt and loss felt like, and Silent Hill dragged me through that, whether I understood it or not. Now, Silent Hill 2 is less about scares and more about forcing you to keep going despite that every reveal of the story you'd wish you'd never known. You don't just learn about your own, or rather the protagonist James Sunderland's Silent Hill. You learn about other people's, and the more you learn, the more despair you're subjected to. Let me give you an example. You meet the character Angela pretty early on in the game, and you quite quickly realise that she has a few demons to deal with. The second time you meet her, she's contemplating suicide and drops a hint or two about her past. Eventually you find her again, and you have to fight off a monster known as the Abstract Daddy, or the Ideal Father. This creature looks to be two people hunched over a bed with a long, phallic mouth at the front. Any suspicions you might have had about Angela and her father and brother were pretty much confirmed by the existence of the Abstract Daddy. However, the most disconcerting part is how Angela sees the creature. If you know anything about Silent Hill 2, or have had the pleasure of sitting next to me when I'm drunk, you'd know that almost all of the monsters are feminine, to represent the different aspects of James's relationship with his wife. The Abstract Daddy, whilst you could argue has some feminine aspects, seems mostly masculine. Even the feminine parts are more of a victim to the real monster hunched on top. The creature doesn't fit in with James's other beasties because it isn't one of his monsters. It's Angela's, and she doesn't see what we see. Before entering the room with the monster, we can hear Angela screaming, begging her father to stop. She doesn't see the ideal father. She sees her actual father. This is the despair that Silent Hill wants Angela to experience. This is how it teaches you. When you come to Silent Hill, you either learn what it wants you to learn, or you die. You may have noticed that I've said the word despair a lot through this video, and well, that's because it's pivotal. Abuse, sexual molestation, rape, and murder, these are the things that Silent Hill will make you bear witness to. Now that I think about it, it's not really something I should have been playing as a kid. Yeah, way to go, Dad. But still, you continue. Not because you want to, but because you have to. You need answers, otherwise all you've suffered for was for nothing. You can only hope that the answers will at least end what you're feeling. I may not have been all that clear, but I hope you at least have an idea of what I'm talking about and why the feeling of Silent Hill is my favourite kind of horror. But for now, have a good day, and I hope it was better than mine.